Hi you guys, how are you? It's April 7th. I just got a hit on this that I need to read this to you guys. But first, you know how Donald and the GOP constantly gaslight us all the time? That the way they hide their corruption and crime is to accuse the opponent of their crime preemptively, so they're able to weaponize the crime, normalize the crime, and then spread confusion. For example, how many times did we have to hear about HRC and Pizzagate? And here now we have Matt Gates and trafficking. Well, it's time to talk about elections and the Dominion election machines and the software, because there's a really big relevant story there, and I have no idea when this other narrative, this other story is going to come out, but I just want to make sure that we all have this. So we know about Dominion. It's in the news. Fox News and others are getting sued for all the lies they're spreading about Dominion. But for those of us, well, me, because I read, who are in the know, we always knew way back 4 years ago that it was actually Diebold, D-I-E-B-O-L-D machines that were the problem. And watching this, it's like Donald and the GOP are taking all of that information and the corruption, the evidence that's been found behind Diebold, and projecting it to Dominion. So here is the background. Jennifer Cohn, her Twitter handle is at JennyCohn1, I've been following her for well over 4 years. She's been incredibly persistent, probably one of the most persistent and tenacious people out there on the subject of election security software. She's an attorney. I remember back in the day when she was actually probably following more people than we're following her, and now look at her. She's following 11,000. She's got over 179,000 followers. But what I like about this thread of hers is that she finally synthesized all of this information into one thread in a way that makes sense. So that's what I'm going to do here is I am reading this thread. This is dated April 6th. She starts off, in the year 2000, Republicans block manual recount after the memory card is found to have inexplicably deleted 16,000 votes from Gore's total on a Diebold machine in Volusia County. No other races were impacted. Bush declared victorious by 537 votes. History forever altered. Bev Harris later shows that a convicted embezzler had joined Diebold as its senior VP and largest shareholder in September 2000. His crimes involved sophisticated computer tampering. Media yawns. Harry Hursty later shows that Diebold memory cards can be hacked without detection by subtracting votes from one candidate and adding the same number of votes to the other candidate. Documentary featuring the Hursty hack is nominated for an Emmy. Media yawns. Stick a pin in this. I will come back to this about the whole subtracting votes from one candidate and adding the same number of votes to another. Stick a pin in there. Clint Curtis later testifies to the House Judiciary Committee that Representative Tom Feeney, whose district included Volusia, a former running mate of Jeb Bush, had asked him to design a vote-flipping program for the 2000 election in Florida. Media yawns. In 2002, Congress passes Help America Vote Act, providing billions of dollars for new voting machines to replace punch card systems. The bill allies money to be spent on expensive new paperless touchscreens, which make manual recounts impossible. Hillary Clinton and Chuck Schumer are the only two senators to oppose HAVA. The bill passes. 2002, Georgia becomes first state to use paperless touchscreen voting machines statewide. The election results in several devastating and unexpected Democratic losses, including the U.S. Senate and governorship. A manual recount is impossible because machines are paperless. 2002, Alabama's popular Democratic governor, Don Siegelman, runs for re-election. He is declared victorious, but then loses after 6,000 votes are subtracted from his total in a Republican county in the middle of the night. Stick a pin in that. Siegelman is told that the earlier total had been inflated due to a glitch. Siegelman requests a recount of the one precinct, but Republicans seized the ballots and illegally certified the result. 2004, the DHS issues a bulletin warning that Diebold machines can be hacked remotely. The media yawns. 2004, Hillary Clinton introduces a bill requiring voting machine paper trails. It doesn't pass. She warns that Republicans could use paperless machines from Republican-controlled companies to hack elections without detection. The media yawns. 2003, Diebold CEO, a Bush donor, promises in a fundraising letter to deliver Ohio to Bush in 2004. Media reports, but moves on quickly. 2004, Bush defeats Kerry in Ohio. Before the election, Ohio's Secretary of State, Ken Blackwell, tried to block exit polls, but was overruled in court. The U.S. at this time was funding an exit poll in Ukraine to confirm the legitimacy of a crucial president election there. 2004, that is Manafort and Konstantin Kilimnik, Tad Devine. Although reported totals showed that Bush had won in 2004, the exit polls showed that Kerry had won. The greatest discrepancies were in the swing states, especially Ohio. Ohio attorneys later discovered that Blackwell had secretly routed Ohio's results through a backup server hosted by a company called Smart Tech in Tennessee. Smart Tech was also hosting the servers for the Bush administration's private emails. The Smart Tech server kicked in at 11:14 p.m. Stick another note in there. The routing of results through Smart Tech remains a mystery. It was designed as a backup server for use only if the official server, designed by Republican IT guru named Mike Connell, failed. The Ohio attorneys filed a lawsuit that accused Rove of orchestrating election fraud in Ohio 2004. Connell was deposed. He had objected to the subpoena, but was overruled in court. He testified that, as far as he knew, the official website didn't fail. At this point, Ohio had a new Secretary of State, Jennifer Brunner, D. She produced an architecture map which suggested that the majority of Ohio counties had sent their election night results to the Ohio SOS website in 2004. These are the results that would have been rerouted to Smart Tech. Brunner said her office been unable to determine how many Ohio counties, if any, had sent the results directly from the county's central tabulators, as opposed to using separate computers to protect the totals on the county's central tabulators. So they were unable to determine how many were sent in those modes. The House Judiciary passed a resolution to subpoena Blackwell to testify in person, as he had refused to do so voluntarily. As far as I can tell, they never followed through on the subpoena. Please let me know if you think I'm wrong. Brunner also told the media that, according to employees, the Blackwell administration had shredded documents before leaving office. As for Kerry, despite promising his supporters to make every vote count, he had conceded the election. The Green Party requested a recount. Under Ohio law, the recount compared a manual 3% count to a 3% scan. It would proceed to a full recount only if the partial didn't match. The recount was rigged by election workers who were caught having pre-selected the count and counted the ballots to be used, rather than selecting them randomly. They were indicted for it. So a triad contractor was also reported to have had remote access to county tabulators in at least 2 counties. The triad contractor also handed out cheat sheets to help election workers ensure the manual and machine recounts matched. So we've got people on the ground and a contractor working together. It wasn't until many years later that Kerry admitted that his own campaign had been suspicious of the voting machines. He told Brian Lehrer that they had gone to court to review the machine's algorithms, but were thrown out due to the proprietary nature of the software. Some have speculated that Kerry had conceded because he didn't want to be called a sore loser. In 2000, Republicans called the Gore-Lieberman campaign "Sore Lieberman" for contesting the results. After Connell testified in deposition, the Ohio attorneys subpoenaed him to testify at trial. They hoped he would say more than what he had said in his deposition, where he had denied knowledge of election fraud. But Connell died in a private plane crash before the trial. I gotta read on that. The Ohio attorneys subpoenaed him to testify at trial. They hoped he would say more than what he had said in his deposition, where he had denied knowledge of election fraud. But Connell died in a private plane crash before the trial. Okay. Yes, no. Yes, no. Was his plane crash an accident? 3-pile yes, no. Ready? Let's see if we can see this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 1. No, it was not an accident. My 3-pile yes, no. Aces are yeses. Upright, they are no's reversed. Wow. Let's do a 3rd pile. Was it an accident? 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I'm getting no, it was not an accident. There's a lot of that funny business in Ohio. Remember, they just indicted some Ukrainians there with money laundering and campaigns. Ohio is the state where all those Republicans were indicted. And I believe the chair had to step down. Connell died in a private plane crash before the trial. The tarot says it was not an accident. Even before he was deposed, an IT expert named Spoonamore, who Connell had known for years, had declared in an affidavit that Connell was a devout Catholic who had once admitted to him that in his zeal to save the unborn, he may have turned a blind eye to election rigging. In 2008, Obama ran against McCain. Again, Ohio was predicted to be crucial. By this time, Ohio had a new SOS. Democrat Jennifer Brunner, who told McClatchy that she had terminated all outside contracts, for example, the contracts with Mike Connell and Smartech. Paul Manafort, at this time had an IT company called 3EDC. 3EDC's website said the company had a strategic alliance with New Media, a Mike Connell company, and AirNet, Smartech's parent company. Under pressure from staffers, McCain terminated the contract with 3EDC. The litigation over the 2004 election was active during the 2008 election as well. In fact, Connell finally submitted to his deposition the day before the 2008 election. The day before. Even Rove predicted that Obama would win, and he did. Obama won. Unlike 2004, the polls had correctly predicted the winner. In 2012, Ohio was again predicted to be a crucial swing state. Right before the election, Bob Fitrakis, who had litigated the 2004 election fraud case until Connell died, received a tip that voting machine vendors ES&S had installed uncertified software patches throughout Ohio. Pay attention to that, uncertified software patches. I forgot to mention that Diebold had installed uncertified patches throughout Georgia before the 2002 election. Fitrakis went to court to try to inspect the patches, but it was the day before or thereabout, and the court said no. The judge did, however, say she'd be happy to take the case after the election if he saw reason to come back. The polls had consistently showed Obama in the lead, so Republicans began claiming the polls were skewed. A website called Unskew the Polls gained popularity with the GOP. Kind of like Stop the Steal. Rove was among those who insisted the polls were bunk and that Romney would win. Now remember, Karl Rove was working with Donald Trump this past summer and fall with the election. At 11-something p.m., again we have this time, stick a pin in that, the Ohio Secretary of State's website froze. When it went back up, it showed Obama had won the state. Rove, who was live on Fox News, objected when Fox News called the state for Obama. Rove was so freaked out that Megyn Kelly and the camera crew walked backstage to consult with the normally offstage decision desk. The decision desk affirmed the call. Obama had won. White hat hackers from the collective Anonymous later claimed to have blocked an attempted hack of the 2012 election by minions of Karl Rove, but they provided no proof. In the end, they were no more transparent than the voting machines themselves. As in 2008, the polls had correctly predicted the winner of the 2012 presidential election. With Obama having won 2 elections, Democrats, who had previously prioritized election security reform, stopped prioritizing election security reform. As a result, they were caught with their pants down when Russia attacked America's election infrastructure in 2016. In an attempt to reassure the public, people in positions of trust provided false assurances. They told us our system was too decentralized to allow an outcome-altering attack, which was false. They told us that remote hacking would be almost impossible because voting machines supposedly never connect to the internet, which was also false. Plus, hacking by corrupt insiders, whether funded domestically or by a nation state, was also a threat. Although Russia was hacking the election to help Trump, the Obama administration underplayed the concerns, and Trump claimed the election would be rigged against him. In response to Trump's accusation, Obama and Hillary claimed the election was secure even though it wasn't. God, this is depressing to write. Hillary declared that, unlike Trump, she was prepared to accept the election outcome no matter who won. The pre-election polls and exit polls had predicted that Hillary would win, but the reported electronic results showed that Trump had won instead. Experts begged Hillary to seek a recount, but she refused. The experts then asked the Green Party, Jill Stein, if she would request a recount as it had done in 2004. Many Democrats didn't trust Stein because she had been photographed dining with Putin and Michael Flynn in Moscow, but there was no one else withstanding to go to. Allies of Trump opposed the recount, and the courts and election officials effectively derailed it. In Wisconsin, most large counties refused to conduct it manually. In Michigan, it excluded machines with broken seals and precincts where the number of voters and the number of votes didn't match. The Michigan recount was also shut down after 3 days. The Pennsylvania recount never got off the ground. Trump would be America's next POTUS. In 2017, the DHS admitted that it had conducted no forensic analysis of voting equipment and said that it didn't intend to do so later. In June 2017, The Intercept published a classified NSA report that had been leaked by a young veteran and NSA contractor. The report showed that Russia's attack was more serious than the public had been led to believe, although it did not indicate that vote tallies were attacked. The Intercept did not protect the identity of the woman who leaked the report, whose name is Reality Winner. She was arrested and sentenced to 5 years in prison, where she remains to this day. In 2020, the book Rigged reported for the first time, according to 4 senior members of the Obama administration, Russia had been in a position to edit actual vote tallies in 2016. Before Rigged came out, former Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid, Nevada, had speculated that Russia had in fact changed vote tallies, and this was why the vote totals were off. For the record, Nevada, Parler is incorporated in Nevada, for what it's worth.